In my hands are the brand new Surakari Frigate variation figures. So let's get started talking about these guys as well as some of the challenges with selling 3D prints as tabletop game miniatures. Welcome to Beyond Kalidasia, the television show that takes you behind the scenes of the space combat miniatures game Legend of Kalidasia. I'm Jason, the creator of the game. And over here in this hand is a Surakari anti-missile frigate. And this guy over here is a Surakari plasma missile boat figure. And these are the first two new products for Legends of Kalidasia for 2014. And this is part of my goal of what I call maturing the product line. Of course, that's just kind of a generic PR speak. But in particular, in this case, what it means is filling out some of the missing figures. Of course, the anti-missile frigate's been around since the days of the Admiral Rule packs. And the plasma missile boat over here has been around since the very beginning. Neither one which actually had a proper figure. You kind of could proxy it or mod it up with the existing Surakari frigate, but neither one had an actual figure. Now, what's interesting about these guys, though, is they both use 3D prints as part of the actual mass-produced miniature. And let me grab the weapon sprue over here. And what I'm holding up here is actually the upgrade kit that comes with these miniatures, because they both are built on the pewter miniature that exists currently for the Surakari frigate. So the question I have to answer is, why did I go with a 3D print? Now, I talked back in episode 1 a little bit about what's involved with getting pewter miniatures made. And of course, for an upgrade kit like this, you're going to probably pay $100 to $200 for the mold itself. Then each item obviously you pay per each casting done. Now, of course, with the pewter miniature, I can pretty much guarantee you that a pewter version of this little upgrade kit, say that right, that I'm holding here, would be a lot cheaper than the 3D print. In fact, the 3D print is actually more expensive than what it costs for the entire pewter hull of one of the Surakari frigates. However, the total cost, of course, would be the $100 for the mold, plus however many of these I get done. And given the current stock level I have left of the Surakari frigate hulls, it's really about equal in terms of the $100 price point up front plus all the little pieces versus the X number of 3D prints that I have left for the Surakari frigate hulls. I believe it may be a little bit more expensive for the 3D print route than it would be with, say, the pewter miniature way. But with a 3D print, I get a lot more flexibility. Let's say 6 months down the road, I come across and discover people having a tough time with getting the weapons attached, or something's not right, or maybe I just want to change it to add more detail. I can go ahead and make a few small changes to it, crank out some 3D prints, and there we go. No need to spend another $100. It's kind of along the idea of, I think it's called the lean startup, or lean startup agile, something. But the idea is you basically crank stuff out, fail fast, and learn from what works and what doesn't work. So if you were to apply that to miniature manufacturing, it works great in the ideas of 3D prints. I want to talk a little bit about, from your perspective, as the customer. Because the interesting question is, why should you buy 3D prints? This is the big challenge for me as a manufacturer. I'm going to go ahead and release this 3D print very near in the future. Sorry, not 3D print. The 3D model for this 3D print very near in the future, if it's not already out by the time this episode is out. Because it works great for 3D printing, and you can go ahead and just, crank one out and print them off as you need them. So why would you buy this 3D print from me instead of just printing it off on your own? The first question that's going to come to your mind is, if I'm so worried about people making their own 3D prints of my stuff instead of buying them from me, buying the actual 3D prints from me, why am I making the model available? And the reality is, in the long run, it doesn't matter. First, for the time being, for the temporary short-term kind of thing, it's still fairly quite a bit of a hassle for someone to go ahead and download those 3D prints and make their own model. It's a lot easier to go ahead, send me some money, and I'll send them a figure out. It's just still a lot easier to do it that way. Now, of course, things can change. That won't be necessarily in the future. Someone can go ahead, download the miniatures, upload them to Shapewaves, make it a one-click kind of thing. And in that case, well, all right. You're not supposed to do that because of the Creative Commons non-commercial license, but I can't enforce that, I'm not going to lie. So someone could go ahead and do that, and then make it just as easy to go ahead and buy a miniature or 3D printed miniature from Shapeways as it is to buy the actual 3D print from me. But the reality is, it doesn't matter if I keep it secret or not. Even if I manage to keep the 3D model thing completely secret and it never, ever gets out to the public, it doesn't matter. And why is that? Two reasons. One, it's not that hard to make this yourself. I mean, someone who is skilled in 3D modeling could take a couple hours and easily duplicate this little 3D miniature 3D print I keep holding in my hands here. It's fairly simple to do. And if someone wanted to, take a couple hours, then make a copy of it, upload it somewhere for anyone to download, and it's already out there. So even though it's not my model, it's still a version of the model, and for most people that would be good enough. And second of all, unlike movies and music, people don't necessarily need the original thing. If you're talking about pirating movies, people obviously want, say, the Avengers, the real Avengers, the one that's made with a crap ton of money, I don't know how, couple $100 million budget, whatever it had. They don't want to see Jason and his friends on the tabletop battlefield run around like the Avengers in some low-budget independent ripoff, or even a very good indie film that's a version of the Avengers, which of course would be copyright violation, but whatever. The point would be, even if it was a really good independent version of an Avengers adventure, they're still going to want the real thing and not this other version. With tabletop game miniatures, that's not necessarily true. You can get some really cool miniatures that are not necessarily the 100% blessed, 100% pure, whatever terminology you want to use, 100% pure versions manufactured by the company. In fact, there are companies out there who make third-party miniatures for other games that are frankly better than the miniatures the game company produces. And that's how the free market works. That's the way it's always going to be, and that's actually pretty cool. So like I said, even if, hypothetically, even if I were never released 3D model for this thing and never able to get out, I kept the secret forever, and for whatever reason, no one decided, oh, I'm going to be nice and not try to copy anything, exactly copy the stuff that Kalidasia releases, and no one ever did that, someone can still go ahead and make 3D prints that work with my Surakari Frigate miniatures, and even though they don't necessarily need to call them the plasma missile boat, hey, it's a frigate missile launcher upgrade. You know, it could be really cool looking upgrade pieces that work great with my miniatures. And that's just the way it's going to be, and I can't stop it because it's actually, from a legal perspective, there's nothing I can legitimately do. It's not a copyright violation. There's no patents involved in terms of how the pieces go together, so you can't really get people on that. So in the end, how do I get you to buy 3D prints from me and not from another source, whether it be a third-party company or maybe just you download them somewhere and print them off yourself? And the answer is, it's all about the brand. It's all about making you want to be part of the Kalidasia brand, be part of the Kalidasia universe, and choose that over third-party pieces. Now, I realize it's kind of ironic I'm saying that, since just a moment ago I said in the tabletop game industry it really doesn't matter. But that is my goal as a company, is to make it matter. I want you to be part of the Kalidasia universe, be part of the pure Kalidasia universe. And how I do that, in a lot of ways, is customer service is a huge thing. I need to respond to any issues people have. I need to be open about what I'm doing. And I don't want to view my customers as something I can just make money off of. You can get into a horrible death spiral where you basically see your customers pretty much as money banks and try to milk every possible penny out of them any way, shape, or form. So that's one thing I got to avoid. I got to avoid doing that. Item number 2 is also I keep you engaged with the brand. I make you want to play the Kalidasia storyline and be part of it. And one of the ways I'm doing that right now, and frankly it's not a super great way because it's pretty much limited to people who go to conventions in Michigan, but it's the Bar and Sekar campaign. When you go ahead and play these campaigns, you're affecting the story, and that's one other way to keep my audience engaged. I'm going to find a way to expand that literally to anybody in the world, probably with the next campaign, but for right now, it's something I'm moving towards. And that way, by making you part of the storyline, by letting the players in some way have a little bit of control over how some of the events go, That's a fantastic way to keep people engaged in the Kalidasia storyline. When they're engaged in the Kalidasia storyline, they're going to want to go ahead and buy the actual Kalidasia pieces. So the third point would be then, make the best product I possibly can. There's no reason to try to sell you cheap or crummy stuff and try to pass it off on you. Customers can see through that stuff. They can see when companies are milking them out of money. So literally, I need to make the best stuff I possibly can, and I need to really, truly believe that when I release products. And fourth, I want to help you guys out in more ways than just playing my game. Of course, these videos here are about trying to sell you Kalidasia stuff, but they're also seriously trying to give you ideas of what you're going to face if you want to make your own game. Because you know what? I like showing people how to do stuff. I did that for tons of times on the tabletop battlefield, and I keep doing it now, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I believe it's, well, okay. That's going to go off in a big political economic rant, so that's not really something I'm going to do right now. But anyway, hopefully that gives you some idea of, one, why I chose 3D prints over pewter casting, some of the challenges, and how I think I can make customers want to buy the 3D prints from me instead of going to third-party sources. So with that, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them over to kalidasiagames@gmail.com. That'll go right to my phone, which I believe is sitting behind my chair today, and I can go ahead and respond to those to you via email, or of course, if you want me to answer them on the show, I can do that as well. And of course, if you want to buy anything from Legends of Kalidasia, head over to kalidasia.com. We got our starter sets, figures, and a free starter set there you can download and try out if you want to see how the game plays out. So once again, I'm Jason, and thanks for watching.